will be drifting a little bit, and I will not be able to read you out the headlines this morning because we have some very special guests in the house with me this morning. And of course, they are representatives of the tax club from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. They are very distinct and wonderful individuals joining me this morning to discuss overview of taxation in the informal sector. And that is a very important conversation that needs to be discussed. And I'm very, very privileged to be having this conversation with young Nigerians who are in the forefront of the consequences of the taxation issues in Nigeria. And of course, all the disadvantages of that misrepresentation in the tax industry in this country. You can join this program live on YouTube at High Voltage News. Please like, subscribe, and share. And you can also follow through on Facebook. It's Vote 104.3 FM together. Also, you can call in live into the studio to be a part of the program. You can call 0706-048-5853. Also call 0915-570-8347 to be a part of the program. I have with me this morning Miss Stephanie Mokolo. She's a final year law student of the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and a member of the tax club. Also, I have Mr. Agbara John May Esumchuku. He is a third year accounting student of the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Also, he's a member of the tax club. And of course, a prize winner of the CBN essay competition. You're welcome, lady and gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
How you feeling this morning?
I'm well, thank you.
Relax. Relax. Relax.
Okay.
It's all right. We're going to have a conversation. I don't like to interview.
Yes.
I think when you interview, you don't necessarily get the information, but when you converse, it comes out right.
Yes.
Okay, so what's been your experience, in tax?
Well, I fell in love with tax in my fourth year because it is one of our electives in the Faculty of Law.
Okay.
So my lecturer was very passionate about tax, and the passion seeped into his students, and I started getting involved. I became a member of the Tax Club UNN, which has helped me a lot, broaden my horizon amongst others. So it has been a very expository and inspiring experience that I've had with Tax Club. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Isonchukwu, please tell us, what's your experience in the tax world? What do you know? What have you figured out?
Yeah, well, I'll say I met taxation first when I was in third year.
Okay.
Right, so as an accounting student, we were introduced to taxation, and then I think I kind of got connected to it because right from secondary school, I loved anything that dealt with principles and calculation. So taxation now came with calculations that were guided by several principles. I was like, okay, wow, I could work with that. Right, so from there, I still met it when I was writing my ICANN. So I feel taxation is something that, if I would pursue a career tomorrow, I think I would consider taxation.
Wow, that's something I never heard people in my time say. So I never knew it's something that we would want to do. Like, I never heard anybody say they wanted to go into taxing. That's strange to me. Okay, so now that you're here to educate us, first of all, what is taxing? I don't know what it is. I'm sure a lot of people don't know what it is. So teach us, what's taxing first before we go into all of the intricacies of it?
All right, so taxation is just basically a system that mandates several businesses, of course, regulated businesses in Nigeria, to pay a certain amount to the government in kind of an exchange for services rendered by the government. Now, some persons would say that taxation is a compulsory levy.
Okay.
But then I think the reason why they will say so is because they are principles that kind of enforcing taxation. It's just that those principles sometimes might not be fully enforcing taxation. Well, I would just say that taxation just basically a kind of system that mandates regulated businesses to pay certain agreed amounts to the government in exchange for an exchange of services rendered by the government.
Is it just businesses that are supposed to pay this tax?
No, so there are different tax regulations. So tax cuts across individuals, corporations, so which is like the institution of the Pope. So those are like corporation souls. It also cuts across businesses. So we have personal income tax, we have corporate company income tax, we have value added tax for that's taxation on goods and services, right? So when you go to Spa and you buy bread in Spa, there is a VAT on that bread you buy. So you pay for that VAT. People don't really know if they don't check the payments list, but it's always there. So there's VAT, there's stamp duties. When you handle documents, when you contract and you bring out documents, contracts that stipulates the terms of whatever agreement you've entered into with somebody, like a bill of lading, they have stamp duties on them, which is given by the government. So now there's also even electronic stamp duties. So those are the different tax cuts across a lot of areas and sectors.
Oh, yeah. So you just mentioned Nigeria, and that's where I'm really interested. So I might not have known about tax, but you mentioned the pay slips. So I get a lot of those, and I see the VAT. Yeah, it's written very boldly, VAT, and some of my money goes in there, you know. And when I receive payments as well, I get to see that same guy. He shows up, VAT, it's there. You buy anything, literally anything in this country, it's usually there. So can you explain that to us? Why? Who is VAT, and why is he always on my bill? Because I didn't buy him.
VAT is basically a tax on goods and services. So if you purchase a product that is VATable, it's not, if you go to the Malam, the Malam shop, or a supermarket that is not regulated by the government, you do not pay VAT. So you don't pay VAT on the bread you buy at a Malam shop. But if you
wait a moment, right? The Malam shop. The Malam shop, he gets to pay a certain amount of money to the environmental guy, the, what do you call them? The SWOMA guy. I'm sure that's
a different type of charge.
So is he possibly going to add that money he's paying these agencies to my bread somehow?
It's at his discretion.
At his discretion.
If he adds it into your bread. But what I mean by you do not pay VAT on bread you got from the Malam shop is that the way you see VAT on the sparse bread that you've gotten on your pay slip is not the same way you see it on the pay slip you got from the Malam shop. That's if you even get a pay slip in the Malam shop.
No, you don't.
Exactly. So that's what I mean by you don't pay VAT in the Malam shop, because his bread is not as regulated as those in Spa. So it's also, VAT is also on services that you've been rendered, services that you've gotten from businesses. Let's say you've consulted for somebody, like if I become a tax consultant and I consult for a company, right, they pay VAT on the services that I have rendered to them. So that's how VAT works, amongst other tax laws, tax regulations for different purposes.
All right. I want to go organic before I begin to go really professionals with my question. I wanted to find out from you guys, what have you observed with the taxing system in Nigeria?
All right. Like I said, when I was defining taxation, that taxation is basically a combination of principles and calculation, right? Every functional tax system, especially the Nigerian tax system, runs on the strength of principles. So I would say that so far the principles are somewhat violated in Nigeria, somewhat. Like, for instance, now the principle of convenience. Most taxable individuals will say the system of administering tax in Nigeria is not convenient for them. That's like kind of like violating one of the tax principles already here in Nigeria.
Okay.
Yeah, another principle that is often violated is the principle of equity.
Okay.
Right? Everybody say some people normally confuse equity with equality, right? But then equity simply means that everybody is meant to pay tax based on their earning capacity. But then we get to find that in some areas, and then that statement is kind of like, to me, it's kind of like subjective, because if you say people should pay based on their earning capacity, one way it could actually make people to, number one, understate their earning capacity.
Okay.
But then, and then it could also make some people on the other hand to like overstate their earning capacity, because they feel that if they overstate their earning capacity, there could be more benefit, because the mentality is that they are paying tax so that they can enjoy more benefits. So some persons, it's usually rare though, but some persons will like kind of like overstate their earnings so that they could like attract some like more tax exemptions or like tax benefits on their side. So I'll just say, generally speaking, the system of taxation in Nigeria kind of like has some loopholes that needs to be like corrected in the long run.
All right. Now that we've mentioned this, let's talk about the informal sector and the way it works there. Okay, so how does taxation work in the informal sector? You tried to give me an example earlier, but can you go more into it?
Okay. The informal sector really are the sectors where it's not fully regulated by the government. So the government do not have a strong stand in those areas. So let's say for artisans, for the farmers, for different other, hairdressers, fashion designers, amongst others. So these businesses are not regulated, and it's on the high right now. It constitutes over 50% of our GDP in Nigeria, our gross domestic percentage, right, in Nigeria. So this sector is really large, and it's too big to be ignored, but it's not so much regulated by the government, and that's why they find it much harder to tax these businesses. And the government, I believe, is trying to find more ways to bring them within the tax net and generate more revenue, because there is much revenue to be generated.
Do you agree?
Do I agree?
Yes.
Based on the principle of equity, which governs taxation, yes, I do agree.
Do you also agree that the Nigerian government gives back enough to demand these taxes from her people?
Definitely not. A government that wants to enforce taxation on people we should also see workings, I think.
Okay.
We should also feel confident in the money that we are giving to them, that is going to be put to good use, that infrastructures, workshops, seminars that are going to benefit us is going to definitely be given to us. And I think the situation in Enugu is getting much better, because we can see more infrastructures being built with our tax revenues that we are giving to the government. So I believe
But this is the same Enugu where the people that you mentioned, the informal sector that we are taxing, are complaining of overtaxation. Did you know? Have you ever heard that?
Overtaxation, definitely.
There's a complaint of overtaxation in Enugu.
Yes.
Okay, so you also mentioned that these informal sector, that they are generating almost 50% of the income in this country, basically. Now, I am aware that these informal sectors are a product of system that's not necessarily at its best. So people have to go and find their way to do things. So I'm aware that the borrowing percentage at the bank is almost more than 35% like return rate, right? Which is very high for business starters. And I know that the government doesn't really give a lot of incentive to the MSMEs. That's the medium scale upstarting companies like that. So I'm aware of these challenges. So I want to understand the excitement about taxing this group of people, because these people are the survivors of the society. In as much as they might be generating this income, I want to understand the justification for the taxing this group of people.
All right, like I said, taxation will only be done properly if we follow the principles.
Okay.
Right. So, like she said, she was giving an example with a malam that sells bread in the market, and then she was comparing. You mentioned about VAT from like a store, like a Roban store or something like that. Now the thing is, those malams now they're actually part of the informal sector, and then they don't pay VAT per se. But then you see those market regulators normally come to take money from them.
True.
And then it's kind of like constitutes their cost element. So definitely a wise businessman, be it Malam, Igbo, or wherever, so long you're in the business world, you definitely want to cover up your cost. And then the only way you cover up your cost is by absorbing it with your cost unit, being the bread in this case. So it then means that the product needs to be more expensive.
Okay.
Now the truth is, there's actually a cost and benefits of taxing this informal sector. For instance, now, if you decide to tax the informal sector so high, it then means that it will spill down to increased price of goods.
We are seeing that every day.
Yeah, you see, normally it will definitely spill down to like increased price of goods and services. Now, if it goes to increased price of goods and services, that will like maybe translate to inflation generally in the economy. And then saying that it's more like you are using one tool, but then it's coming back to backfire. That's from the perspective of the government.
Yes.
Right. But then the taxpayer, which is the malam in this case, what he's saying is that okay, I'm paying money to these market regulators. What exactly are these market regulators doing for me? Are they giving me more security, or are they? In fact, some of them even believe that these market regulators are even eating this money. They believe that their money they are paying to the market regulators, a dime is not going to the local government. So some of them get like depressed. They get like devastated. They're like, I'm just paying money for somebody to eat.
But are they wrong in these assumptions?
Well, I would say they are not sometimes wrong, because it's kind of like obvious. You're paying money, and then sometimes the money becomes progressive. Sometimes I know, like where I come from, Lagos now. My mom was telling me that the tenements they were paying just went up by 30%. But guess what? The benefit did not even go up by 1%.
Okay.
So you see the problem now from the informal, from the market sellers now. So I think there has to be a balance between the benefit of paying taxes, or the benefit of taxing the informal sector, and then the cost of taxing the informal sector.
Okay, so do you think that Nigerians are educated enough on tax-related issues?
No.
No.
Before my 40, I was not educated at all on tax issues. I only hear tax, and I think, well, it's not for me. I'm not yet there.
Okay.
But I've been there ever since I was 18 years old.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people, even before I was 18, a lot of my age grade were already earning money, right? And nobody came to them.
Outside that, someone was paying your VAT till you were able to carry on with it. It was always there.
I entered the university early, right? And that was, I could be termed as an infant under the law.
True.
Right? But I still had my ATM card. I still had my bank account. And whenever I went to SPA, I still pay that from my money.
That's what I'm saying. Like, even before that time, when you were now able to go in and now do it yourself, someone was paying VAT for you the whole time.
Yes,
that,
definitely.
you didn't have,
So
you were still...
Those that were paying the VAT did not relate it or tell me that they were paying it. So I did not have any idea of that. So I wouldn't say that Nigerians are properly aware, properly educated on taxation. Yes, that's my view.
All right. So this informal sector, they like you guys said, they are very important in our society. So we must give them a lot of attention, which I think what you people's program is really about, right? So, okay, so let's find out what regulations, you try to mention the regulations that affect the informal sector and their businesses. What are those things that affects them?
Right. The major regulation that affects most informal sector are actually the market regulation per se. And then I would say that these market regulations actually they are unique to like individual markets. For instance, I would confidently say that I know two major markets in Lagos, for instance, that has varying intensity when it comes to regulation. For instance, the Alaba market in Lagos now has fewer regulations than markets like the My 12 market now, for instance. So what I'm just saying is that there are regulations, but then the intensity of these regulations are actually dependent on the market.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's it.
So what makes these markets different, and why are the taxing in those markets different from each other?
Yeah, that's
What are
because
the factors that can vary?
yeah, that's because the market regulators consider the fact that those market players, the malams and those guys in the informal sector, most of them has more more needs. When I mean needs, for instance, like in a market where there are 10 outlets, for instance, and then the other market has like 5 outlets, it then simply means that if the market regulators are going to be like providing at least security, it then means that security needs in the markets containing 10 outlets has to be higher than those that has 5 outlets. Then it then means that the rate or the intensity of regulation has to be more in the market with 10 outlets. So you see that this kind of varying needs of market players in different markets would now like to an extent determine the level of payment they make to the market regulators, and then the level of cost that would be translated to the goods they are selling.
All right, that makes sense. Miss Stephanie, I have a question for you as well as regards the whole effect in the current tax collection system for businesses in the informal sector. You tried to mention that there are other taxes that they have to pay informally to the government. You know, if it's not the SWAMA, if it's the local government, I am aware that they pay those. You know, they don't let them, get away from those. They pay those. So what is the system, that this particular government is using to tax these people now?
So for marketers and artisans, right? They have associations.
They do?
Yes. They have associations, and these associations and the stakeholders in the associations are the government's agents, so to say, in tax collection for these parties, for these participants, right? They also have, for the small and medium enterprises, they have bodies that collect this tax, but these bodies are agents of, so the people on the road, like maybe you're inside a keke in Enugu, and then you see them collecting tickets, some people buying tickets amongst others. Those are informal collections, but they answer to somebody that is in the formal sector. Like the tax bodies, the FIRS, the State's Board of Internal Revenues. So those informal tax collections are deemed as agents of the State's Internal Revenue Service. So those are the people, that's the system of collection of taxes.
So they're still legit?
Sorry?
So they're still legit?
The legitimization of them is still in question because they do not remit totally the whole taxes or charges that they're collecting on this informal sector. So the government is trying to reduce the amount of informal tax collectors it has.
Really?
Whether I know that, or I believe that some of these informal tax collectors are government funded, right?
I mean, they wouldn't come to take taxes without that authority. So you mentioned, they have like the power up there.
They could have the authority from a second agent of the government, of the tax body, right? But the money that they now remit to the tax bodies are relatively smaller than the tax bodies expect, or they are not the full price, they are not a full valuation
Okay.
of what it's actually in practice.
Okay.
Okay,
Who takes the
but
fall
that's
for
the-
this particular behavior now?
Hmm?
Who takes the fall for this? The officials who have sent them out to gather the taxes, or the agents who are gathering the taxes? Who
The
takes the
officials,
fall for this?
definitely,
The officials.
because they are to properly regulate it and make sure people's money are not going to in vain, or they are not going in voicemail.
Okay.
Right, so they are the ones responsible for any lacunas or gaps that you find in this tax collection system.
But could there be an argument that because it's informal businesses, so they are using the informal system of taxing to get it back? Is that what it is that they are trying to do?
I believe it's a good idea to use this informal.
It's a good idea.
Yes.
Okay.
Because from wherever they are, it's not easy to regulate this informal sector. So they need people that are in that same association, in the same area, in the same space as the informal sector to help them collect taxes. Okay. But what I mean is they should be more regulated. Now, at every junction, you're seeing somebody collecting tax.
Oh, true.
Where is it going to? They've not given us the answer to those questions. So it's still an argument. I'm saying they can employ these informal tax collectors, right? But it should be regulated. It should be more transparent. Let us know where this money, if these are the actual bodies who are to pay our taxes to, are these keke drivers to pay these tickets, fees, these charges, amongst others, and where are these charges going to?
Oh, I agree, because I've seen these people stop the keke men mostly and harass the living life out of them. They pack them, they take their keys, and I understand that such display of power is coming from somewhere.
Yes.
Where someone has instructed them to apply these methods to get this result. Now, what I want to understand is the tax industry in Nigeria. Is there a part where they take consequence? Because I believe that if they do not want these informal collectors on the streets, they have the ability to stop it. So what I'm trying to figure out is there a reason why they necessarily need to use these informal collectors? Is there necessary? What's the main reason why we can't be rid of them? Because it seems nobody can get rid of these people.
Yeah.
So what is their very important role that they have to play? Which is why I'm thinking maybe the FIRS are leaving them alone and not letting them,
All right, the major target of FIRS, or the State Internal Revenue Service, is to completely take off tax evasion. And then they believe that most persons evading tax are largely under the umbrella of the informal sector. So they feel that they needed a system that would be closer to the informal sector.
Like a local government.
Yeah, like a local government or something. They needed a system that would be closer so that they can even exploit those sources that normally don't throw in money into the tax net. For instance, now they know that for them to get formal officials to come all the way from the federal government or the state government to come down to the road and stand, it might not be feasible. So they thought that they could bring in some of all these sometimes uneducated officials.
No, I would use the word touts in most cases.
Yeah, sometimes
better times. They use the wrong people in the society, and you should see the reflection out there. Yeah. So it looks. I'm speaking as a regular Nigerian who is on the day every day, right? Yeah. If this is what taxation is about, and these are the people who have to collect it, it comes out like a criminal offense. It doesn't look like it's a legit business anymore. So I'm trying to make sense out of it. Why these people? Why them?
That's it.
Lack of manpower also plays a vital role.
I like that.
Right? Because they do not have the requisite resources, I think, to dispense and collect these taxes. So what I believe the government should strive for is educating, bringing in a good group of people, right? Literates, hopefully. Or they can even, these thugs on the streets are not thugs by chance, by want. They are thugs. They can even be educated. They may be educated persons, but they find themselves in these circumstances. So why not employ these people, educate them on what their role is, and then disperse them to collect these taxes and make sure it's more regulated and transparent. So lack of manpower plays a very important role in us seeing thugs on the road collecting charges that may or may not translate to tax, because tax is quite different from other fines, penalties, charges. So what a keke man may pay for passing the traffic lights when he's not supposed to at the Enugu State Transport is called a penalty or a fine for doing a prohibited act. But it's different from charges. So let us know, what are these unofficials collecting from these people? What are they collecting from us? Because I'm even also in the informal sector. Nobody's regulating my tax. Nobody knows if I've paid tax or not. So I'm also in the informal sector. Why should I be confident in paying this taxes when I don't know where it's going to, or who am I paying to? And I think since we're entering into a digital era, right, or we are already in a digital era, they are trying more to make it online, e-taxation. So you can just give a USSD code and then you can pay your taxes through those means, and you know that they are going to the right channel rather than the unofficial systems. Yes,
because it's difficult being a Nigerian. We have to deal with these people on the road. In fact, I'm going to use these keke people for an instance, because they are one of the people who go through a lot in this country every day, and it's looked away, is overlooked because, it doesn't concern a lot of us. But they have to deal with these touts who are collecting supposed tax from them. They have to deal with the MOT, who are officials. They have to deal with the VIO, who are officials. There's the road safety, who are also officials. So you have these agencies on the road, and everybody's asking for something. And this also goes for the bad security agents, who are also asking for something. So the average keke man is going to tell you that 40% of whatever he makes every day goes into paying some agencies, especially in Enugu. He's paying some people, right? And the roads, well, thank God for the governor who is taking an interest in trying to fix the roads, but he doesn't see where all of that money goes to. So I feel for the people that are in the informal sector, because I'm here and, my eye is seeing shaky, but then I can't complain too much. But I'm looking at the guys in the street. I saw the Bonkiti area, right? I've been using that market for years, and I'm sure that the artisans there, especially the young women who are doing hair business in that area, they've been paying tax for years. And I'm talking more than 10 years. It was just sometime last year that the governor decided to do something and create like a mini store for them in that area where they can now stay away from the sun, stay away from the rain and all of that. Now, this is a welcome development. If you came back to Bonkiti and told the women there to pay a tax for something, I believe that they would pay without wondering what it is for. Because now, for the first time, they have seen the incentive of paying these particular taxes. So what I want to know is, what is the solution to Nigerians not understanding the role they need to play in taxation?
I think one basic solution would just be our tax bodies basically conducting mass awareness programs for people, because some people normally even confuse tax for, like she said, tax for rate, tax for penalties, tax for every other charges that is not tax, right? So I feel if the tax bodies would actually be generous enough to conduct a nationwide awareness system whereby everybody knows, not just at the school level, but down to the pockety level, down to every single body, down to the keke drivers on the road. I feel they should do that kind of thing. And then, like she said, she mentioned the case of manpower, right? One way to actually kick that out is using tech systems like USSD, like she mentioned. And then I think the government came up with something, I think a few years ago, this Tax Pro Max. People can normally they can file tax online, but
Very
that actually has to be targeted. I think the idea they targeted the educated sector, because how would you feel Mama Nkechi would one day wake up and then move with her phone and then go and file tax on Tax Pro Max? So there has to be another easier way for those artisans in local markets to pay their tax, and then also a system that guarantees the efficient utilization of their tax revenues to provide social amenities for them. Right? It still boils down to awareness. I still boils down to awareness. Anything you want to do, you need to make sure that there is enlightenment, there's awareness to everybody that is gonna benefit from what you are doing. Because several governments will claim that they are doing something, and truly they might be doing something, but they are not. It's more like they are not carrying the citizens along. Like you didn't tell them you didn't tell them about it. You didn't teach them. Just like, for instance, when they wanted to implement the cashless policy, it's a very wonderful policy, but it came too sudden. There was little or no awareness creation for that, and then everybody just took the bad side of the whole cashless policy, and then nobody even thought about the good side. So I feel awareness creation should be one big game to make things work in tax world in Nigeria.
Additionally, I think the government should be more intentional about establishing confidence in the citizens' minds. So if you expect us to pay tax, be more transparent, be more accountable, show us that you can give us value. Create webinars, create seminars, create workshops, skill acquisitions for these informal people. And then they can now do roads in Enugu, create value for these people. And then when you ask them for taxes, it won't be hard for them to pay. I think that's another way for them to, collect taxes from the informal sector to be more regulated. Same with the stakeholders, like the association heads, the heads of this association that the hairdressers have or the artisans have. They should be more interested. They should be more create more awareness for their people, for their participants, to know that this is an important thing to play for us to get certain incentives, certain exemptions from these taxes. And the taxes should be more certain, more moderate.
Okay, please, because I'm going there because Nigeria is very poor right now. As I speak, Nigerians are super poor. I've never seen this level of poverty in this country before. And having said that, one would expect that there will be tax reductions, especially since the proposed minimum wage has not started coming in. So one would also put in the factor that most young businesses are shutting down, quote unquote, because of tax, right? The electricity tariff has gone up. Everything has literally gone up. And that includes the taxes as well. You understand? So what do you think the government can do to slow things down? Because I believe Nigerians are not completely stubborn or don't want to do right by the country by paying their tax and doing their civic duties. But I want to find out from you guys, since you have an association, and I believe that the government is interested in the tax club, especially at the university levels. So I want to find out from you people, if the present Nigerian business industry, are you impressed with the rate at which businesses are growing here? And if you're not, what can the government do to help so that it comes down and it's easier for Nigerians to pay taxes to the government? That is where I will probably be ending it this morning. Yes, take your time.
All right. If you want to make taxation easier, I think what you said, businesses needs to be easy.
Okay.
Right. Doing business needs to be easy. So I think one way government would make businesses easy is actually by providing amenities for this business. And these amenities could be better roads, because most businesses, they actually thrive on transportation. An average businessman would definitely buy goods from a very long distance, and then would have to take the road transport to transport to their business location. So I feel if they fix the problem of bad roads, it will actually help business, even if it's by few adding few percentages to their year-on-year income as a business. And then another thing is security. Most states are generating large incomes from business. One of their issues is actually security, and so persons will be like, okay, they can't do business until 6 p.m. Once it's 5 p.m., they're already closing up. You then see that the money they would have made from maybe 6 p.m. to like 9, it's kind of like they've lost it, because they are trying to like save their life. All right, and they wouldn't want to put their life on the table because of money.
I know. Enugu shuts down at 9.
Yeah,
You
so
know,
They
it's
don't
been
open
going
until
on
10.
for years,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that is just economically very stupid, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all. I don't-
Yeah, so these two
Okay,
things.
security.
Yeah,
I
two
like
things,
that.
security
I
and
like that.
transport. Yeah.
All right, so before I let you guys go, let me tell you the people that I've been talking to, wonderful people from UNN this morning. Stephanie Nwokolo, she's final year law student at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. And I also have a very wonderful gentleman here, Abara John May Esumchi. He's a third year student of accounting in the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. And he's also a prize winner of a CBN essay competition. You can hear from his voice that he has it. Okay, so you guys are from the tax club in the UNN. Can you tell us about it? Because I'm sure that there are young people who are listening. Actually, a lot of young people listen to Vote FM. And it's very inspiring what we do here. Young people follow through a lot. So I'm sure that I'm going to get messages that are going to ask me about you guys. So I want you to do it yourself. Tell us about the tax club and how can, incoming students be a part of this?
Okay, the Tax Club UNN is a student-led organization.
Okay.
Right. It comprises of mostly law students and business administration students from these two faculties.
But can any other people join?
Other persons, other students from other faculties can join in. Right. We organize workshops, we organize seminars, we create awareness, we do tax walks. I remember last year we did a tax walk with the CITN here in Enugu. We do industry visits. We go to the FIRS, the State Board of Internal Revenues also. We have symposiums. We do a lot of online outreach, a lot of online workshops, amongst others. So yes, it's a very lucrative, very inspiring, very student-friendly, and we are very open to new members joining in. So if you're ever in the University of Nigeria, do not hesitate to come into the University of Nigeria Tax Club. Thank you.
Okay, so do you have any government collaborations or you wish to have in the future? You can, this is a radio station, you can now make your requests known.
Well, currently, I wouldn't say that I quite know about any government collaboration, but I feel that with the kind of news or the kind of information going on now, I think the government or government activities kind of like tilting to let the young ones prevail, right? So Tax Club UNN is actually basically run by the young ones. So I feel that with the kind of quality minds we have in Tax Club, government, even before we go to them, they will definitely come to us and probably seek one or two insights that we can give, even though we are still students. So I believe that in the long run, it's kind of like hot cake, right? Not like we, it's going to be hot cake. Yeah, Tax Club UNN, as I joined, it's kind of like moved my knowledge of taxation from like 0 to like 120%.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so that's how quality everything we do in Tax Club is. So I feel that in the long run, they are going to come to us instead of we going to them.
So you're not going to ask for anything right now?
We just need them to do their best, be honest, make tax more, make taxation more aware, more known to the people, and then give them value for their money, honestly. And I think they can learn a lot from the student bodies by giving us internships at the FIRS or at the Enugu Internal Board of Internal Revenue.
That is good.
We would really appreciate that, and for tax advice, tax advisory, tax consultancy, we also want to participate in such programs that they have. Yes.
Okay. I would like that for you guys as well. I hope that the Ministry of Information Enugu is listening. And also, I would personally like to plea with the governor of Enugu State, Governor Peter Mba, to please look into the conversations these young people are having. I agree that it's about time that we begin to spread the knowledge, spread the news, so that people are quite aware. I'm surprised and I'm impressed at the same time that this conversation is happening. So I hope to see you guys in the future. Thank you so much for joining High Voltage this morning. Don't forget to catch up on this program live on YouTube every weekday, Mondays through Fridays, 9 a.m. till 10. Okay, it's High Voltage News. Like, subscribe, and share. I'll see you again tomorrow morning at 9. My name is Mavis.
Take care of yourself. Good morning.